Welcome to video 3 in lesson 2, section 1. Here we're going to review all the divisibility rules that we have learned in section 1. So to start, it says a whole number is divisible by 2 if the number is even. A number is divisible by 3 if the sum of the digits is divisible by 3. A number is divisible by 4 if the number represented by the last two digits is divisible by 4. And this is a little bit different than what we did. So if you had a number like this, you can just look at the last two digits. Since you know that 12 is divisible by 4, then that means that the whole number is divisible by 4. And we learned that if the last two digits can be divided by 2 twice, it's divisible by 4. Now this rule is really useful in a number like this, where the last two digits may not be a multiple of 4 that you know. So what you can do is just divide that by 2 twice. So now you have a couple of options for determining if a number is divisible by 4. Now a number is divisible by 5 if the ones digit is 0 or 5. It's divisible by 6 if it's divisible by both 2 and 3. A number is divisible by 8 if the last three digits is divisible by 8. So if you have a number like this, and the last three digits, again, is a number that you're familiar with, you know 64 is a multiple of 8, well then you can say that the whole number is divisible by 8. But if you have another number, then you can use the rule that we did, which says that the last three digits can be divided by 2 3 times. Now a number is divisible by 9 if the sum of the digits is divisible by 9, and a number is divisible by 10 if it ends in a 0. So for this example, we're going to complete this chart by checking each of our divisibility rules for the numbers listed on the left. We'll use a check mark if it's divisible and an X otherwise. So to start, we have 780. Now because it is even, we can say that that is divisible by 2. Let's add up the digits to check for 3. 7 plus 8 plus 0 is 15. So yes, it is divisible by 3. For 4, I see that the last two digits is 80. So I can divide by 2 twice. Or if you know that 80 is divisible by 4, you can just go ahead and say yes. Now since it ends in 0, it is divisible by 5. Now it's divisible by 6 because we already checked 2 and 3, and they were both yeses. Now is it divisible by 8? Well, if I look at the last three digits of this number, which is all we have here, this is not a multiple of 8 that I'm familiar with. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by 2 3 times. So let's start. 780 divided by 2 is 390. We'll do that again to get 195. Now, can we divide by 2 a third time? No, because 195 is odd. Now we said the digits added up to 15, so is it divisible by 9? Nope. And it is divisible by 10 because it ends in a 0. So now let's do 873. Well, this is odd, so it's not divisible by 2. 8 plus 7 plus 3 adds up to 18, so it is divisible by 3. Is it divisible by 4? Well, you got to be able to divide by 2 twice, and I can't divide by 2 once, so that's a no. It doesn't end in a 0 or a 5, so it's not divisible by 5. Is it divisible by 6? Well, although it's divisible by 3, it's not divisible by 2, and both got to be true, so that's a no. Now 873 is not divisible by 8 because it's not even. In a previous video, when we looked at multiples of 4 and 8, we determined that they were all even. So we will put an X here. And we already determined that the sum is 18, so it is divisible by 9. And it is not divisible by 10 since it ends in a 3. Now for 509, that is odd, so it's not divisible by 2. Add up those digits, you'll get 14, so it's not divisible by 3. It ends in 0, 9, or 9, and that's not divisible by 4. It's not going to be divisible by 5 either. Now it's definitely not divisible by 6 because 2 and 3 didn't work. It's not divisible by 8 because I just said it got to be even for 8. The digits added to 14, so it's no for 9. And it's not divisible by 10 either. Now just because none of these numbers worked, it doesn't mean that 509 can't be divided by another number. Now for 900, that is even, so it's a check mark for 2. Those digits add to 9, so 3 works as well. It's divisible by 4 because the last 2 digits are 0, and 0 divided by 4 is 0. We're able to do that, so yes for 4. It ends in a 0, so we can say it's divisible by 5. We can say it's divisible by 6 because it was divisible by 2 and 3. Is it divisible by 8? Well, we're going to have to divide again to see. So we'll divide by 2 to get 450. Divide by 2 again, get 225. Can I divide that by 2 a third time? No. So it's not divisible by 8. Now 900 is divisible by 9, because I know 9 times 100 is 900. But also, if you check the rule, the digits add to 9. So that works. And since it ends in 0, it's divisible by 10. So you should be familiar with all of these divisibility rules. Now we have one more example using our divisibility rules. We have to fill in the blank with a digit to make each statement true. So I have a number, 1,200, and then blank and 5. We want to create a number that's divisible by 3. So let's remember the rule for something to be divisible by 3. The digits need to add up to a multiple of 3. So if I add up what we have so far, 1 plus 2 plus 5, we get 8. So if I put a 1 here, that would now add to 9, which is a multiple of 3. Now there's actually other possibilities as well. I could put a 4 here, so now that adds up to 12, which is another multiple of 3. I could even put a 7, which adds up to 15. So sometimes you can have multiple correct answers. Now for B, I want to make 450 something be divisible by 10. And we know that the number has to end in 0 in order to be divisible by 10. So there's actually only one possibility for this, and that's 0. Now for C, I have something and then 28. I want that to be divisible by 4. Well, if you look at the last 2 digits, 28, which is all we really need to look at with our rule of 4, that's already divisible by 4. So it actually doesn't matter what we put there, because any digit will work. 128 is divisible by 4. 228 is divisible by 4. 328 is divisible by 4, and so on. So you can put anything there at all, and it would be correct. Now for D, we want to make this number divisible by 9. So let's add up what we have so far. 6 plus 1 is 7. So if I want to make this a multiple of 9, I'm going to have to put a 2 here. So it adds to 9. You can try other numbers, but this is the only one that would work in this case. So now make sure you complete all the activities in section 1 before moving on.